Hey, it's Coolio. If you don't know, welcome back to Kirby's All-Star Legend. We are starting today on the Kirby 20th Anniversary Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition. And maybe the game would run if I had it selected. There we go. So yeah, there are a couple of things that we can do here. The main thing that we can do here is play any of these 6 classic Kirby games. Now we've already played all of them, and in fact this is how we played Kirby 64 since N64 emulators are iffy at best and I couldn't get it running. Now before anything else, let's take a little bit of a look at where we've gone so far. No. Kirby's first game. With simple mechanics and friendly worlds, it was a perfect starting point for action game beginners. This is probably going to be the entirety of the first video. We're just going to check out all of these games that, I mean, we've already seen them all. I might not let the entire video play for all of them, but let's at least let it play for Kirby's Dream Land. It's kind of a stroll through memory lane. And there's a couple of things that I didn't actually see in that game, so they might show up. Just borrow this game and the Super Game Boy from your friend all the time. Yeah, I wonder if I still have my Super Game Boy. I don't know that I do. Which is kind of sad. It'd be really cool if you were able to find that, Zero. It'd basically be your very first Let's Play. Remember the very first time that that I played Kirby's Dream Land? The very first time I wasn't able to get past that first hill because I didn't know that you could float. And eventually I did get to the final boss, but I didn't know that you were supposed to use those stars against him to fight him. So I was like, well, how do you fight King Dedede? I don't know. Obviously, eventually I figured it out. We can play the game, but we've already played it, so. And other things that happened in 1992. The Summer Olympic Games were held in Barcelona, Spain. Space Shuttle Endeavour made its maiden voyage, and Bill Clinton was elected President of the USA. I don't know why they added that one, but there you go. In 1993, the European Union was founded. Intel released the first Pentium processor. Janet Reno became the first female Attorney General of the USA. And we also got these 2 games. Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Pinball Land. This was the first game in the series to include copy abilities and minigames. And just in case you forgot how to draw Kirby, there you go. I'm sure that a Super Game Boy these days probably costs like over $100 to get. And then if you're trying to get a Japanese Super Game Boy 2, then forget about it. On this little race thing here. There you go. Definitely doable. And then Kirby's Pinball Land. A game in which ball-shaped Kirby had to reach and then beat bosses waiting at the top of exciting pinball stages. Decently cheap. Okay. If I don't still have mine, I might eventually get another one. Play saved game? I don't remember being able to save your game in this. I might of course be completely mistaken, but I really don't remember there being a save function in this. Or any SRAM, like, at all. As you'll recall, in Kirby's All-Star Legend, I did manage to actually beat the 3 bosses, but one of them I didn't get the key, and I also didn't beat them in the same playthrough, so oh well. Alright, 1994. No games here, but the Winter Olympic Games were held in Lillehammer, Norway. A record-breaking 3,011-pound lollipop was made, and the first genetically engineered tomatoes went on sale. Keep pressing the wrong button. But unfortunately, this statue of Lolo and Lala cannot be swallowed. 3 games in 1995. Also, the DVD format was announced. Cal Ripken Jr. broke a record by playing in his 2,131st consecutive Major League Baseball game. Like, playing them, like, one after the other without sleeping. And, surprisingly enough, they managed to mention the Virtual Boy in this. And then Kirby falls asleep. Fantastic. But yes, we get 3 games for this. We got Kirby's Dream Course first. Oh yeah, you can actually, let's see. What are the buttons for this? You can check out the boxes for all of these. Kinda neat. And of course, Kirby's Dream Course being known for being the first Kirby game with anti-piracy measures. So playing a pirated version of this that wasn't properly cracked would have a couple of different effects. For one, you do not get 1-ups from anything. You don't get any extra health from anything. And if you still manage to clear the first course, then the game would just completely freeze and delete all your saves. Oh, you also can't continue. If you get a game over, your only option is to end the game, and then you lose your save. Then we get Kirby's Avalanche. In this fast-paced puzzle game, Kirby blasted his opponents by strategically stacking color-coded blobs. Also known as Kirby's Ghost Trap in Europe. I don't know why. And this is basically an outside of Japan port of Super Puyo Puyo. Obviously, everything was changed around to use Kirby characters. The Sega Genesis also got this game, but got it under the form of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And this is basically how how Puyo Puyo in general became popular in North America. They basically sold it with different brands on them to at least see if it would catch on. And it definitely did catch on. I mean, we have Puyo Tetris today. Also, that is one hell of a combo. Wow. Kirby's Dream Land 2. This game introduced new copy abilities and Kirby's pals Rick, Kine, and Koo to the Kirby universe. Yeah. Interesting that they went with the black and white for this, because this is the first Kirby game, kind of unofficially, to have color. You can play this in a Super Game Boy, and everything will be nice and brightly colored. I did kind of go out of my way to find an emulator that would properly support both the Super Game Boy Color and also borders, so we could get the full Kirby's Dream Land 2 experience. 1996. The Summer Olympic Games were held in Atlanta, Georgia. Nintendo released the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Pocket, and we also got these two games. First, Kirby's Block Ball. Once again, Kirby returned to ball form. This time, Kirby had to bounce off paddles and bash his way through blocks. And this game, I would argue, has some of the best music in the Kirby series, and definitely has the best boss music in the Kirby series. I believe the soundtrack recently went up on LowBiasGaming. Yeah. Game features 4 of the copy abilities that we have come to know and love. And here's that boss theme. Just absolutely jamming, I love it. And of course, the very famous Kirby Superstar. Kirby Superstar featured 8 games and introduced two-player cooperative and competitive play to the Kirby universe. It is also the very first depiction, well, sort of 3D environment for Kirby. I mean, that's definitely pseudo 3D. It's just a lot of fancy effects. But it's the first time that Kirby was at least kind of in 3D. Yes, this game has multiple game modes. And gameplay style for pretty much all kinds of players. Except for shmup players. There's not really much shmupping happening in this game. Well, there is in... Actually, yeah, there is in one part. I completely forgot this. So yes, there is a little bit of shmupping here. '97, the UK returned control of Hong Kong to China. The first Harry Potter book was published in the UK. The first mass-produced hybrid vehicle, the Prius, launched in Japan, and we got these two Kirby games. The first, Kirby Star Stacker. In this playful puzzler, Kirby and his friends stacked falling stars. With a game link cable, two friends could play together. I believe this is the first Kirby game that actually supported the game link cable, if I'm not mistaken. As the first original Kirby puzzle game. We get a bit of a look at some of the later stage clear stages here. Since we took a fairly brief look at this game. That's how you stack stars. I can't even tell you how much time I've spent in this game. And yes, there is a Kirby dance in that game. And when you clear stage clear mode, you get one of those little pictures. And Kirby's Dream Land 3. This game introduced new copy abilities in the friends Choo Choo, Pitch, and Nago. It also gave player 2 Gooey to control. So this is the first Kirby game that allows the second player to copy abilities without necessarily having, you know, tack. It's a last SNES game from Nintendo, and they came up with an entirely new graphics mode for it, says Jason. That is kinda wild. And really, I have to believe it. There is really no game on the Super Nintendo that looks anything close to Kirby's Dream Land 3. Has a very distinctive art style that is just really memorable. Although I remember trying to play this on emulator, and emulators didn't like it very much. Yeah, that is a trick that they used on CRT monitors. The color dithering. And unfortunately we got a couple of years of lull here, but in 1998 we got the Winter Olympics in Nagano. The assembly of the International Space Station began. We got the Game Boy Color, but we didn't get any Kirby games. In 1999, the first non-stop trip around the world via hot air balloon occurred. That's a thing. The populations of the world reached 6 billion. Kirby appeared in the first Super Smash Bros. Fighting game, but no Kirby games as such. In 2000, the Summer Olympic Games were held in Sydney, Australia. The ISS received its first resident crew, and somehow George W. Bush was elected. Other stuff happened related. But we're here for Kirby 64. This game introduced power combos to Kirby's arsenal. By combining two copy abilities, Kirby could do incredible things. Momentarily forgot how to talk there. Even Yoshi's Island was not really quite the thing that would compare, you know. It was similar in some ways, but yeah, not really comparable. In any case, this is also the third and final game of the Dark Matter trilogy. With the first two being Kirby's Dream Land 2 and Kirby's Dream Land 3. It is as much of a solid arc of storyline as HAL has ever directly given us. Now there is a video that attempts to make some sense of all the various bits and pieces of Kirby lore that can be found throughout the games. It's really an interesting watch. Like, a lot of it does kind of make sense. In 2011, a 16-year-old successfully climbed Mount Everest. Nice. Nintendo released the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo GameCube, and we got the final Game Boy game. Or Game Boy Color game, anyway. For the Kirby series, Tilt and Tumble. And we're gonna see some footage here of how the game is kind of supposed to be played. This is what the completed map looks like, by the way. I believe this is the first Kirby game to include that hi and like any voice clips for Kirby. But yes, as you may recall from Kirby's All-Star Legend, this was an ordeal to play on emulation. I do remember actually playing it on an emulator a long time ago, and it didn't go too badly. Like, I did manage to get through it. This is the final boss. We didn't get to see this. But this is a pretty fun game to play on actual hardware. Do the Kirby. Oh man. Yeah, this one is just to try to get as far as possible without falling off the edge. We didn't get to see that minigame either. Alright, in 2002 we got the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. East Timor became the first new country of the 21st century. Euro coins and notes entered circulation after 9 years of the EU being a thing. And we got one game and something else. The first, Nightmare in Dreamland. In this colorful remake of Kirby's Adventure, up to 4 friends could play cooperatively or face off in multiplayer minigames. Yeah, it's really hung up on the Olympics, I don't know why. But yes, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland is basically Kirby's Adventure with more colors, more graphics. And also a couple of rather disappointing sequences in butter building. where in the original game you get to kind of see the building spin around behind you. They didn't implement that in this game. They're just kind of lazy about it. That was disappointing. But we also get Meta Nightmare mode for this, which is probably the most fun thing. You just get to play the entire game as fast as possible. And that's pretty much how we demonstrated this game. And then we got this thing. And we can watch entire episodes. 3 episodes have been included in this. This 100-episode animated TV series was first broadcast in the USA in 2002. It has been released in many other countries as well. You know what? We're not going to watch an entire episode, but let's at least play the intro.
Kirby, that's a name you should know. Kirby, he's the star of the show. He's more than you think, he's got maximum pink. Kirby's the one. He comes right, back at ya. He comes right, back at ya. Give it all that you got, take your very best shot. He'll send it right back at you for sure, yeah.
How can I help you, King DDD?
I need a monster to claw with that there Kirby.
That's what we do best at NME.
You better get it with a money-back guarantee.
Kirby, saving the day. Kirby, he's here to stay. Don't be fooled by his size, you won't believe your eyes. Kirby's the one. Right back at ya. Yeah.
And there you have it. Yeah, it's not great. If you want to watch this anime, watch the Japanese version. I'm not even kidding. Why is the music still going? There we go. Okay, we're back. 2003, the Human Genome Project was completed, Concorde made its final commercial flight, Nintendo released the Game Boy Advance SP, and we also got this. Kirby Air Ride, the first Kirby racing game. The Air Ride machine's controls may have been simple, but mastering them took skill and practice. I can attest to that. But yes, this game was originally going to be on the Nintendo 64, but that one was cancelled, and we got it on the GameCube instead. For that matter, we were supposed to get a Kirby platform game for the GameCube, and that also got cancelled, which was very disappointing, as you can imagine. But yeah, this is a pretty fun game. I remember playing a lot of this back in college. And there is a lot to do. There are 3 checklists, each with 120 things to do, which will get revealed as you play through the game. But yeah, much gameplay to be had, but don't try to do a let's play of it. In 2004, Summer Olympics in Athens, Greece, NASA's rovers Opportunity and Spirit landed on Mars, Nintendo released the DS, And then we got this little gem. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. In this game, Kirby was split into 4 differently colored Kirbys. Luckily, he could call them for help with his trusty cell phone. Because, you know, cell phones were all the rage. Actually, they kind of were around this time. This is when cell phones were kind of starting to evolve. We wouldn't really get smartphones as such for another 3 or 4 years. But they weren't too far behind. As far as Kirby goes, we got this neat little game, which is pretty much the only open world Kirby game. And I really wish that they would make more of these, because this was a lot of fun to go through. Like, no 2 playthroughs are ever going to be the same. End the story of how Coolio got lost. Also, hi, NB. In 2005, Danica Patrick became the first woman to lead an Indianapolis 500. Due to a lockout, the Stanley Cup went unclaimed for the first time since 1919. Nintendo released a Game Boy Micro, and we also got this. Kirby Canvas Curse. Kirby returned to ball form, this time to roll around on a rainbow line drawn by the player's stylus in a brand new adventure game. Yeah, the NHL lockout. That was definitely a thing. Apparently notable enough for HAL Labs to point it out. But yeah, a lot of the DS games that HAL has come out with really focused on using the touchscreen. And I mean, rightly so. It was really the gimmick for the DS in general. Now, as far as playing this emulated, I wouldn't really say it went that well. But it wasn't terrible. Not like some other games. In 2006, the Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy, Nintendo released a DS Lite and the Wii. And we also got this. Kirby Squeak Squad. This game introduced a copy palette which allows items and copy abilities to be saved and mixed together. And this one basically goes back to a standard platformer for the most part. But you also get that copy palette at the bottom there. Lets you store abilities, use them later. Also copy certain, combine rather, certain abilities. You'd often get mixed, but you get some combinations that would actually give you some really cool stuff, like for instance, the Fire Sword. Like that. Probably one of the best abilities in the game. And then Metal, probably one of the worst abilities in the game. Animal never showed up again, I don't think. The big annoying part of this game is the fact that it did require you to have space on your copy palette in order to get treasures. So that wasn't great, but overall, pretty fun game. 2007, the final Harry Potter volume became the fastest selling book in history. A record-breaking 10-ton ice cream float was made. Nintendo unveiled the Wii Fit and the Wii Balance Board, but there was no Kirby game. 2008, Summer Olympics in Beijing, Barack Obama was elected president of the USA. Nintendo released the DSi, and we got this. This remake of Kirby Superstar included a new story, 7 new minigames, multiplayer support, and updated graphics. So yes, this is basically Kirby Superstar. But not only Kirby Superstar. I mean, there are definitely some upgrades. Most of the graphics are pretty much the same, and the sounds. But this also adds Revenge of DDD, as well as Meta Nightmare Ultra. Which, by the way, that lore video that I was talking about thinks that this is the first time Meta Nightmare mode made it on, which no, that was Return to not Return to Dreamland, Nightmare in Dreamland. But we did get these neat little cutscenes. An example of Meta Nightmare mode. I don't think I ever used this ability actually. In 2009, the presence of water on the moon was confirmed. For the first time, annual global energy use dropped. The 21st century's longest total solar eclipse occurred. But there are no Kirby games, so let's move on. In 2010, Winter Olympics in Vancouver. The first 24-hour flight by... Oh. Whoa. First 24-hour flight by a solar plane take place. Which reminds me of a certain game. I don't remember the title of it. Nintendo released the DSi XL. I pressed the wrong button. And we got Kirby's Epic Yarn. This game sent Kirby to a world made of fabric, where he was transformed into yarn and gained amazing new powers. And of course, this is a game that a lot of people rag on. Get it? Rag, fabric, and soul thing. Anyway. But yeah, a lot of people rag on this because they say it's too easy. It's only too easy if you're only going from the beginning to the end. If you're trying to get everything in this game, it is no longer too easy. This game is actually quite challenging if you're trying to 100% it. These train segments, that was not overly fun. This only shows up once in the entire game. I only realized like while I was putting up the videos. And also, this game was not originally going to be a Kirby game. It was originally going to be starring Prince Fluff. But they got it published by HAL, and they were like, this is a really good game, but it's not going to sell as well as it should because no one knows what this is. But you know what they do know is Kirby. So they stuck Kirby in there with Prince Fluff as player 2. And yeah, it got this game out there, and really fun game. In 2011, the world's population reached 7 billion, which is probably cause for alarm. Nintendo unveiled the Wii U, and also released the Nintendo 3DS. We got these two games. First, Kirby Mass Attack. This game really embraced the concept, the more the merrier. Using the stylus, up to 10 Kirbys could be controlled at once. At my dismay. Even on hardware, this is probably one of the most frustrating Kirby games that there is. It's also definitely the most violent Kirby game, since you don't get to use abilities to just quickly take out your opponents. You have to send all 10 of your little Kirby dudes to just punch everything to death. In any case, if we're talking about Black Sheep as far as Kirby games, this is the one that I would put as, that I would give the label Black Sheep. It wasn't completely terrible, but it wasn't good. And I was glad to get through it. I will say, however, as far as minigames goes, really nice minigames. Probably the best shmup in the entire Kirby series is in this game. So, yeah, Strata Patrol. Super fun! Oh, I didn't even know this pinball game had a boss to it. Also this little RPG thing, which was pretty neat. And we also got Kirby's Return to Dreamland. This game introduced incredible super abilities and cooperative multiplayer that could leave that other players could join and leave at will. And this is the last game that we've completed. I'd call this possibly one of the... I don't know if I would call it the best 3D Kirby game, but it is definitely up there. It was really fun to play. And also this is the first game that had an extra mode that actually kept track of your percentage. There was, of course, Kirby's Adventure, but you actually could not save during Kirby's Adventure. The item challenge was definitely interesting. And in fact, the challenges in general are kind of why we're here. Because we're having this little history lesson. But that's not all that we're going to be doing here in Kirby's Dream Collection. Oh no. And yes, you can play up to 4 players. You get the Ultra abilities as well, which is really super neat. Dong. And then here we are in 2012. The Summer Olympic Games were held in London, England. Nintendo unveiled Miiverse, which no longer exists. And we celebrate Kirby's 20th anniversary. A celebration of all the fun we've had over Kirby's first 2 decades. Here's to many more. And there we go. A whole picture of all of the Kirby games. We also get this little thing. Let's let this play out. Alright. So with that is our little Kirby history lesson of the games that we've played so far. But we still have something to look at. Because remember the challenge stages from Return to Dreamland? There is a bunch more of them, and we will start on those in the next video. So, I'm Coolio if you don't know, and I'll see you guys next time.